handwritten note. Sure. Or physically.
Energy. That creates the lid and everybody.
So if you and I disagree on something, then you must be erased and banished from life. So how does
I'm just gonna sit here and drink this water.
Hi guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's Sam Speaks and Sam Speaks Radio on iTunes. Today we have Nick and Tristan from LabCoat Agents, and they are also agents as well. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm quite excited. We had a little bit of a fun time prior to this, so you know.
It'll be in the outtakes, but we're happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you guys meet?
All right.
Was it love at first sight?
It was.
Or?
We were walking on the beach in San Diego, and I saw this really sexy bald man, and no, it was.
It was actually on eHarmony. That was the first time. No, but you can tell her how we met.
We both know somebody named Steve Passanelli.
Mm-hmm.
Used to work with Realtor.com, then moved over to BombBomb. He started a famous tech blog in around 2006 with Chris Smith, Tech Savvy Agent.
Mm-hmm.
And so we followed them, and then we got to meet him, and we got really close because we used to speak with him on tour with Realtor.com.
Sure.
And then he connected us because I was looking for somebody to add to the group to help us grow. And so when we connected at that point through him, he said, "This guy's amazing, he's going to help you." And bam, we connected, and then we blew up.
Amazing.
Yeah, so when he references the group, LabCoat Agents is
Sure.
a group on Facebook that Tristan initially started because when Steve left Tech Savvy Agent, there seemed to be like a void in the industry where agents felt lost. Like Steve was really the only source for agents at that point for technology.
Mm-hmm.
So when he left, agents were kind of like, you know, where am I going to find all my new tech sources? So that was kind of Tristan's answer to start this community forum. And so when I jumped on it, they had about 1,400 members, and in just under 2 years, we brought it to 35,000.
Is that because of you?
Oh, it's all because of me. Yeah, so it's all because
100%.
I came on board, and everyone wanted to go where I was.
Nick! That's
No.
what I was like.
No, so our synergy and our chemistry and the way Tristan and I think, which is very similar, and our participation and the ideas that we have, and we very rarely disagree on something, and when we do, I'm
That's
usually
not true.
right. So no, but so our chemistry and our participation in the group as admins helped it grow, and it made agents feel comfortable sharing their wins and losses. But the real reason behind LabCoat Agents, our saying is the exploring the science of real estate.
Sure.
So we really want to get to the nitty gritty of what works, what doesn't. You know, best practices, tips for lead conversion. You know, all sorts of, things of that nature. Right, Tristan?
That's our short answer,
Okay.
Sam.
So how does somebody...
I'm just gonna sit here and drink this water in this mug.
But I noticed the group, it's a closed group. So is there any vetting process? I mean, I got in pretty fast.
Yeah,
so.
there is.
Well, we knew who you were. Yeah.
Well, we usually look to make sure that they're in the real estate field.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
do open every single one of them and check. Oh, got it. All right, let them in. We don't want people that are outside of the real estate world. So vendors that are outside of the world, we let in mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and so forth. Because it's a tight group, and we want to keep the culture there. We don't
Sure.
want people posting, "Hey, I'm selling a car," or doing this and that. That's different.
Right. Do you ever kick people out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty strict policy on being kind.
Mm-hmm.
You can disagree with one another, but there's a difference between disagreeing and being rude.
Right.
So we've built the group on a really strong culture of positivity and coming from contribution. So anyone who doesn't follow that can...
Sure.
Join a different group.
Yeah.
What would you say is the number one question that people ask in your group?
That's easy. What CRM should we use?
Yeah.
That's the number one question every group has. You go into the Tom Ferry group, you go into any other group, it's the same question. What CRM should we use? What CRM should we use?
But when everyone's giving all kinds of feedback, it's like, how do you come out with a definitive answer? How do you really,
Well,
everyone's like, well, this one, that one.
I hear answers, or we hear answers all the time saying, you know what, the best CRM is the one you're actually going to use.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good answer, but
Yeah.
it's not.
I mean, that's not the answer they want to hear.
Yeah,
because
it's-
I've used CRMs diligently that just don't help me convert.
Some CRMs don't work.
Right.
So that
Sure.
I believe that's not the real answer.
No.
The
Sure.
real answer is that we've tested a whole messload of CRMs, and there are CRMs out there that work. So there are top 5 that we'd recommend, and other ones that we wouldn't want you to touch because they don't make sense. So yeah, that's probably the most question.
Well, I think a lot of it also do with so many realtors are so tech illiterate in a sense.
Sure.
So it has to be user friendly. If it's clunky, just because it's simple and clunky doesn't mean it's the one for you. Sometimes, a lot of times, you do get what you pay for, so you may have to spend a little bit of money. You have to invest in your business, which is what some realtors don't want to do.
Yeah.
But something that has a great follow-up platform with texting, emails, phone call reminders, reaching out to your sphere with the right type of email communication. I mean, that it all comes in. It all kind of like comes full circle.
Depending on the price point. Too.
And that's
Right.
it. Yeah.
So when you, Tristan, got into this business, you're obviously very successful. Did you have a group that you were a part of and kind of communicated, kind of like LabCoats prior to you
The
creating
only
it?
thing we were part of was I was speaking for Realtor.com throughout the nation, and when we would finish speaking, people would come up and say, well, you talked about this, how do you do this? You talked about this. And so we would have a small group within the Realtor.com community.
Sure.
And so that was it. But we wanted to take that to a different level. I
Sure.
think that was the whole thing behind it.
What about you, Nick?
What was the question again?
So
Yes,
what
he
did
was
you have for
answering,
dinner?
and I just forgot what you asked.
The question was, again, I
Was I a
read
part of
through
any
your
other
bio.
groups?
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
you first got in this business, how did you kind of find your way? There was no LabCoats, obviously
Yeah.
there wasn't. So what were you a part of?
So when I first got into the business, I joined my mother's real estate team. And so I learned how to sell real estate through her.
Sure.
And my mother was a 24/7, 365 agent. My mother's a great agent, but that is not the type of agent I want to be.
Sure.
Right? My mother came up in the world of the MLS being in a book the size of this table. So no, it's true.
I know.
But my mother's been amazing in terms of like being able to transition to being tech savvy and still being a top producer. But anyway, so I learned from her, and I learned a lot of great things from her. And
What's
this was
the number one thing that you learned from your mom?
what I learned from my mother was real estate is about relationships. It's about appreciating your clients, and it's about customer service. And that 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day method that my mother lives by, even though I haven't taken it on in that sense, that mentality has helped me. You always be there for your clients.
Sure.
So she's taught me that.
Sure. What about you, Tristan? How did you get to? Let's talk about your transactions, your deals, your business as an agent. What are you doing right now? Let's talk about your price points, your sales. Talk about your success.
We're in between transition. Last year we did about 60, just a little over 60 million in volume, and our average price point was about 600,000.
Okay.
That's about our average price point. And then we are shifting over to Malibu, Beverly Hills, and Bel Air because we're so close.
Yeah.
And so now we're showing $10 million, $15 million, $20 million homes, which is newer to me, right? But that's a transition that we've jumped into because we're so close. So our business right now, we're in transition. We're going to target the ultra luxury.
Yeah.
And it's being successful so far.
So when you say you're transitioning, what are some 3 actionable items that you could say that you're doing to make that transition into luxury? Because so many agents say, I want to get into luxury, but
Look, for years,
for
I was like, I want to get into luxury because I'm so close.
Yeah.
I live like 5 minutes from Malibu.
right.
And I'm like, it's just so close. Let's transition. And it wasn't happening. So then as I started going to more and more events and I started meeting people like you, I was like, okay, getting a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I get it. The first thing is mindset.
Right.
The first thing is totally mindset.
And confidence.
And well, it comes with that because you're like, okay, my mindset is shifting. I can do this, right? If somebody else is doing it. Plus, I live so close.
Right.
And I have the knowledge. Why not? So that was step number 1. Then step number 2 is, well, how am I going to break into it? Because I don't know a lot of people there, right? So we decided to target it with my expertise, which is online.
Sure.
So we started going after them through online. So that meant that a lot of the people who live there weren't really contacting me. It was the people that wanted to move in, and those are the ones who we were targeting. So now we're helping everybody who wants to move in, and it's at an ultra high price range, which is great to us, and that's how we're breaking in.
Right.
Number 2, so that's online. Number 3 is actually getting to speak the language that they speak, because it's completely different.
Right.
And that to me was something new.
And when you're saying speaking the language, should, someone join the tennis club, play golf? I mean, what speaking the language means what to you?
To me, it means, knowing, it might sound a little cliche, but knowing what a more expensive pair of shoes looks like, and
Right.
the name of them.
Name some.
Yeah, names.
Names are right now.
Well, you
Here's
have
a
to look
quiz.
at them. Look, I have an agent with me. His name's Kevin Crane. He worked at Nordstrom for 7 years. He shifted over. So I bring him everywhere with me to the ultra luxury ones. And he's like, Tristan, look, these are the names of those shoes. Check out his belt. Check out his shoes. The purse, oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, I didn't know any of this stuff. So he's like my way into the language, right? So it's big. It's a different thing for me, but it's been working.
That's a really great.
It is, man.
That's really great leverage.
Yeah, it's. I've been blessed.
I mean, so what brand is this? Is this
I
laser
just
here? Because
don't
it's
know.
phenomenal.
What is this?
This T-shirt was
It's
like $9.
This was $11.99.
Yeah.
So Nick,
Do
let's
you want to
talk
know what
about,
I'm wearing?
No,
You didn't
no.
ask us. You didn't
I
ask
mean,
me.
you guys are like night and day with your appearance.
Like, I'm really well dressed.
Well, I don't know.
No,
We're
it's-
both kind of shiny.
It's just different. They're both great,
This
but
is
they're
Kenneth
different.
Cole reaction.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I like
And my reaction is, I like it.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
No, this is Kenneth Cole reaction.
So with your business, you are with Keller Williams.
Yes.
And Keller Williams is very structured. They have great training, great coaching.
They do.
How
They do.
has that helped you? Did you rely a lot on that training and coaching, or did you kind of, you learned a lot from your
Yeah,
mom?
so
but
that's interesting. So I've been doing real estate for about 10 years, and we were with the company with the balloon before we went to Keller Williams Remix. No,
I got that. Thank you.
so we were with them, and so and my mother now is part owner of the market center that we're in for Keller Williams. So when we went over, it took a little while for our team to kind of transition over to more of a KW model, just because we had been in that other mindset for so long, doing things our own way. So I kind of started to branch off a little bit on my own, not from the team, but on my own in terms of my mentality and how I wanted to get my own business, how I wanted to run my own, get my own leads, because KW really drives home the lead generating factor of it. When I was at Remax, there wasn't a lot of hitting the phones or calling leads immediately that are coming in. It was a different mindset. So my price point stalled. I'm in a different price point than Tristan. Our average price point is about $600. Our luxury is $800 and up. We'll sell now. We're under contract on a $2.5 million home. That's probably where it tops out. But luxury in our market isn't as hot. If you're going to break into luxury in my market, you'll do well, but you're better in like the 400 to 600 range, and you're going to do more units in that aspect. So when I kind of topped out at $250,000 for a while, and when I went to KW, they taught me that those lead generating models and how to up your price point and who to reach out to and what to say. So
What is it that you say? Give me an example.
So the realization that I had was, the great thing about selling real estate is I can choose what type of real estate I want to sell.
Sure.
Like if I want to sell $400,000 or $500,000 houses, I'm going to go do that. So I'm going to call those physicals. I'm going to call those expires. I'm going to market to those people via direct mail or Facebook, or I'm going to go after those leads on Realtor.com or Zillow. So that's how I did it. And then I started networking in Facebook groups in towns where those price points were at that level. So I upped my price point from 2014 to 2015 by $200,000 just by taking those different marketing tactics into play in my business. So it helped. So from 2014 to 2015, my average price point went from about 200 to 400, and my team did about 50 million. We sold 105 houses last year. So
wow, that's amazing.
Thanks.
How has LabCoats helped you guys grow your own businesses?
That's a great question. Two things come to mind, and that's number one. Whenever we put something out there to LabCoat agents, like, hey, this is a best practice, it's become more of a, oh wow, you know what? Let's step back and actually start applying it more into what we're doing.
Sure.
So it makes us a little more responsible because now people are looking to us. It's like, wait, are they actually doing it?
Right.
Right. So
Practice what you preach.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I actually call expireds, almost every day.
Yeah.
And I do go to expired listings, for sale by owner listings.
Yeah.
And I don't get all of them,
Yeah.
right? Because, sometimes we don't. I do cold call, and we do door knock. We have open houses. We do everything we're putting out there because it's just, if we say to do it and we're not doing it, it's just, there's something missing there, right? Because you get a lot of those people that are actually
I'm the same way. People think, oh, well, you're on TV and whatnot, and I have 7 benches in my area, and everyone's shocked by that. I'm like, guys, it works. It's a repetition.
Practice, right?
Right.
So,
just because I'm on TV, that actually can hurt me in a way because people feel like they can't approach me. So you
that's
have
true.
to bring it back to home, literally speaking.
It's interesting that you say that because about when I first got into the business, our brokerage had a show on HGTV, and my mother and I are still kind of recognized very rarely, but it was 7-8 years ago. But that show did hurt us in a sense because it made you look unapproachable and it made you look too busy for the consumer.
I never thought of that angle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So if you're on TV, you're too busy. You're not at that level.
Focused.
Oh, interesting.
So, or we've had instances where people say, your team is so productive, and that's great, but like I feel like you're not gonna have time for me.
Exactly.
That's a really big
What about
objection to come
That's
over.
other agents? Don't they see you and then refer more business to you?
It works both ways. Again, other agents from out of state,
Yeah.
1,000,000%, and even out of the area. But as a whole, clients, it was kind of a 50-50. You got a lot of business, but then you never really know exactly how much business was lost as well.
I never thought about it like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So we are unfortunately out of time. I feel like
Oh,
I know we could talk for another hour,
Ah.
but it's been great having you. Make sure to attempt to get into the LabCoats agents group.
Yes,
on
it's a very
Facebook.
rigorous entry process. You hit join, and then we press accept. It
And
might
make-
take a few minutes because
And
we're
make
selling
sure-
houses too. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Make sure to tune in each and every week at SamSpeaks.com and SamSpeaks Radio podcast on iTunes. Thanks so much for joining us.